attending births is just an amazing experience. Like I love like education and I love like answering questions, doing research, but it's like whenever I get closer to my class due dates, I'm like, I'm just ready to do the birth. Like I'm just ready. I'm just ready. So my very first time, so I was about 13. We're gonna say 13. And my god sister's mom was pregnant, and because I had got diagnosed with ovarian cyst and I had to have surgery, so like I was out um of school, so I got to just watch my god sister's mom. I went to her appointments with her, and I just was like, I need to see this. Like, I want to see this. And so, she went into labor, and I convinced my mom to let me go. She's like, you too young. You don't need to see that. I'm like, no, 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 no. You don't know. I waited for this moment. I've watched Baby Story. I know what's going to happen. And and I recorded it. I recorded the birth. And I remember just like, trying to stay out the way, just trying to be quiet, just feeling the vibes, like, and she was just, she was like, I never cried during labor like this. It was just like so much going on, like just like the silent strength, the tears streaming down. And then she like, okay, I'm about to push. I'm about to push. And like she had a Black midwife. It was such a beautiful experience.
I feel as though you don't see a lot of representation of midwives and doulas in TV shows and movies.
Yes.
And if they're there, it's just like, oh, your doula's coming, and then that's it.
Exactly.
But I can say that with one of the shows I watched, it's called The Good Doctor, and they're now, and spoiler alert if you haven't watched it or if you're like a little bit behind, they're now having one of the characters be pregnant, and then they introduce the midwife, and she's around the house cooking and cleaning, and the father of the child is kind of like hesitant about having a doula or a midwife around. Have you ever experienced that where the other partner is like, I don't want another person around, I can take care of you?
That is very common. Yes. So I think I have experienced that. I've actually had to leave a birth because that just was not, it just wasn't going well. And I'm the type of person, I first time I'm meeting moms or and partners, if they are with their child's dad or whatever, the first thing I'm saying, I mean, even if it's not a dad, I'm like, look, I am not here to take anyone's place. I am here to utilize my skill set to help you, the birthing person, get in a space where you are confident in your birthing abilities. So bringing that back to the partners, I make it a priority to connect with them, to build a relationship with them so that they know that this is about teamwork. But I also say, but if you are not able to be supportive in the way that my client needs you to be supportive, then I have to step in. And if I had to step in, that's so, we got to talk about it. And there's moments where I'm just like, is everything all right? And I try to de-escalate because it's a lot of it. It's like, I am here to help. I'm here because your loved one, she wants me here. She hired me. I'm getting paid to be here. So let's figure out what's going on. So for the most part, in those instances where I've had like some friction with partners, and after everyone's settled at home, I get the messages, SeQuoia, I'm sorry, I was an a-hole. I really don't know how we would have did it without you. So it's just like, I really try not to take it personal.
Are you working at a hospital, or are you working at a center? Like, how does that, I guess, how do those two worlds collide, if that makes sense?
So as I work for my client is a contracted. I'm contracted with my client. I don't work like I'll speak for myself. And most community-based doulas do not work for an institution, because what we do know is that the institution, it has its own set of oppressive systems and policies. So in order to fight against that, we work outside of that system. And so I like I said, I work for my client. When my client show up, I show up. My client leave, I leave. Like it's very clear. Um, so that's like so Doula for a Queen is my personal business. That's my baby. I founded it, but I work with a collective of birth workers or wellness healers in Sankofa Reproductive Health and Healing Center. And so in that birth collective, there are about 4 or 5 of us who attend births right now we have our own individual doula businesses, but then we can accept births through Sankofa. So like Sankofa pays us if our clients are unable to pay. That's how like our model works. And there's different types of models across the country. You know, being in hospitals and understanding there's all these sets of policies and all this fear and like, you know, trying to prepare and like catch everything. And so, you know, I'm always like, let's change this environment because the nurses and the providers, they are trained to look for emergencies and their energy just often just makes it more anxious than it needs to be. So I'm like, all right, when they step out, it's just me and you. We want our music to play, you know, we're gonna dim the lights, we're gonna put the oils. And it's really for me about making sure that person is in a physical and mental space to get through labor. A lot of times the dominant narrative is that it's scary. And so then there's this thing called the fear attention cycle. So if you are assuming or like going into it in fear, that intensifies the pain perception. So that's why I'm like, I always try to let people know that there are the things to fear, but there are also many things to be excited about. As a doula, I'm a birth advocate. I understand what people's rights are. And there's a lot of coercion that we see. Providers like, you know, pushing clients to do stuff they don't want to do. And then as a doula, our role isn't to like tell you not to do something. It's to try to give you all the facts so you can make an informed decision. And so one of the challenges is like when you know a provider is like doing this is fear tactic, right? And you're just like, I don't know what to do because you know they're saying like, oh, well, if we don't do this, baby might die. And so what can you say to that? I'm like, why are we going to death? Like this is just ridiculous. And so oftentimes, like I will be enraged. I will be enraged, but I have to sit there and smile because or even if something's hectic, like I remember one time one of my clients' grandmother was like, why are you so calm? And I was like, because if I lose it, then this whole thing is gonna go. You know, I'm like, I have to stay calm. I have to stay in this. I can recognize that all of this stuff is violent, right? And I'll tell my client, this is not how this is supposed to be going. You speak up. Like you know, when they walk out, I give pep talks because you know, I have to be knowledge. I have to remember that I have to show up to these hospitals after this birth is done. I'm not trying to put myself in a position where they like, nah, that doula, she a hot mess. We not. I have to also be worried about my next clients. But I'm like, but that does not mean that we're not gonna turn up if we need to in a way that centers your body. And like, and I'm always like, is that what you want to do? You know, I sometimes I get gangster, but in ways that de-escalate the issue. And so those are the challenges. It's like seeing something that is horrible, but realizing that how you react can either make your client become more anxious or how you react can make your client calm down and think clearly about their next steps.
Do you have any advice for a Black or brown girl out there watching this when coming into this field as being a doula?
Yes, I do. My advice is to learn about what reproductive justice is and birth justice is. Not just so you can know the framework, so that you can know that it is us who have all often been erased from birth work, um, who have made the most impactful contributions. You know, the moment I took a class, I think it was called Black Bodies, and some school class and called the Black Body. Oh no! I was taking women's genders feminist class, and I learned about the legacy of Black granny midwives, and I was like, this is ours. Like you know, like when we see it, it's like Black midwives, I think we make 2%, 3% of the field. And to know that, but then I'm in class reading about how Black granny, like this is ours. Like, so like to know, so like, I would say, do your research, understand the power that Black midwives, Indigenous midwives had, not power as in like oppressing people, but power and impacting people. And like, let that be something that is at the center, at the core of this work. You know, it's not, yes, we're doing good things, we're saving lives, but understand that this is sacred, and this is something that we are reclaiming. And so, as I say, look at birth justice or reproductive justice. When I think of reproductive justice prior to knowing what it was, I think about like white folks and like the pussy hats and they marching. But then when you look at who created the term, it's Black women. Like, you know, so like, know that this is ours. That's my first piece of advice. Know that this is our ancestral right to take part in these journeys, and to use our traditional values to help sustain our communities. And then the next thing I would be is to, if you're interested in becoming a doula, is do your research. When you are finding or trying to figure out what organization to work with, it's important to find like, what are their values, what are their core elements to their organization, so that you are finding one that is in line with yours. And then you know, if you want to become a doula and people are like, I just need to go to the first training, that's fine. But always remember that you are going to keep learning throughout this process. You will always be learning something. And so, you know, don't feel like you got to learn all the things at once. You will learn so much over the course of your career as a doula.
As my last question, and to wrap everything up in a little bow, I call it Shy's 3. How would you describe your experience as a doula in 3 words?
Okay. How would I describe a doula in 3 words?
Your experience as a doula.
My experience as a doula,
yes.
in 3 words. Oh, this is hard. Okay. Exuberating. That's just the first word that came to my mind. The second word, life-changing. And the third word is legacy.
Okay.
Like, I just closed my eyes, whatever word came to my mind.
I kind of want to tune into legacy. Why legacy?
Legacy because, again, I think that doula care allows me to honor my ancestors and connect with my ancestors in a way that he continues to heal my community. And I think that when we think about the tradition of Black liberation efforts, it's all about continuing that work, continuing that legacy, and learning from what has worked before, learning from what didn't work before, so that we can go closer to being free as Black people. So that's why, you know, legacy is important for me. I feel like my goal is to carry on the legacy of Black granny midwives and my ancestors who survived, because they survived, and that's how I'm here. And so just changing the narrative of like what Black birth work is to our community.
I want to thank Ms. SeQuoia for joining me today. Please, 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 if you have any more questions, definitely look at her Instagram handle or email her. And please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, like the video for more videos to come, and then also follow us on social media. Thank you, Ms. SeQuoia.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and good luck with everything that you're doing. But I'm like, but that does not mean that we're not going to turn up if we need to, in a way that centers your body. And I'm always like, is that what you want to do? You know, I sometimes I get gangsta, but in ways that de-escalate the issue.